Hello everyone, welcome to today's training on CMMC Level 1 with special emphasis on assessment scoping, presented by the folks at Project Spectrum and hosted by the GACO Apex Accelerator and co-sponsored by the Apex Accelerator offices across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Today's speaker is Rick Ostapowicz at Echelon LLC and Project Spectrum, and he will be providing not only an overview of CMMC itself for the uninitiated, but some direct, actionable insight on navigating CMMC Level 1 to help you move forward with your assessment. Because there are participants here with varying levels of experience with and understanding about the Apex Accelerator program, I'd like to take this opportunity before our main presentation to introduce the Apex Accelerator program and the services that we provide to our clients. The Apex Accelerator program is a nationwide program that is funded in part through cooperative agreements with the Department of Defense, Department of War, Office of Industrial Base Growth, formerly Office of Small Business Programs, and regional partners and hosts. The program was established in 1985 by the Defense Authorization Act, Section 1241, and that was intended to expand the number of qualified businesses capable of entering and participating in government contracts at the federal, state, and local levels. If you are not already working with your local Apex Accelerator, you can find your local Apex Accelerator office at www.napex.us. I say that because programs are not a centralized entity. They are either run at a statewide level or regional within each state. For that reason, there are over 90 Apex Accelerator programs with over 300 physical offices across the United States and its territories, serving around 26,000 new businesses annually. Those Apex Accelerator clients, both new and existing, have been awarded over the course of 2024 and 2025, 549,000 contracts and subcontracts at the federal, state, and local levels worth just shy of $65 billion with a B dollars. That's $65 billion injected into the local economies around those Apex Accelerator clients. Here you'll see a map of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the 6 programs that exist within it. These 6 programs work together to make sure people knew about today's webinar, and we thank you for the efforts on that. Now, the most common question that we get is, what do you guys do for me, and what actual benefit do I get from this? Well, the actual answer to that question is longer and more complicated than I have time for today. But broad strokes, we're able to help with just about every topic as it relates to government contracting. So that's government registrations at the federal and state levels. That's certifications, socioeconomic certifications for procurement. We have a bid match profile with bid preparation services that some of you already take advantage of, which is great. We obviously do training and networking opportunities, which is kind of why you're here. We do market research. If you are just entering this arena and you need to know who's buying, what you're selling, from whom, how much, how often, and where they're actually buying it, then we can help you answer some of those questions to help you better dial in where you need to focus your efforts. If you already have a capability statement or you need help making one, then we can help with that process as well. If you don't even know what a capability statement is, ask your Apex Accelerator and they'd be more than happy to tell you about it. If you are selling products and some services, then the topic of a GSA schedule may have been creeping into your conversations with government buyers, and that is a topic that we're able to help you understand as well. If you hope to do business with the Department of Defense, Department of War, then there are certain things that you're going to have to be conversant, if not fluent in, CMMC being one of them, obviously, but mil specs, standards, NSNs, drawings, we can help you find some of those. We can help you understand some of those. If the technical documents that you need to see are not, public domain or unavailable through your C folder, then JCP certification may be necessary within the larger DIBS ecosystem, and we can help you understand how to go through that process as well. If you're going to be selling to the department, then you're going to have to invoice them at some point. And WAWF is where you do that within the larger PIEE system. And we can help you navigate those portals as well. If you're an innovation company and SBIR, STTR is starting to look more and more attractive to you and your business model, we can help you with that, as well as point you to resources to assist as well. One final thank you to the 6 Apex Accelerator programs throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the efforts that you put into helping to spread the word for this. Thank you once again. One final thank you, I promise, to our speaker today, the man of the hour, the most important among us, Mr. Rick Ostapowicz from Project Spectrum. We appreciate you being here, and I know that this is going to be a really interesting topic for a lot of people. I know it's it's a much discussed topic, we'll put it that way. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, James. Really appreciate you for that great introduction and for all that excellent information. Want to say hi and thank you to all who decided that today was the day to finally figure out this whole CMMC thing. I will say that is definitely a smart move. I would not call me the most important person on this webinar, though. I say the most important person on the webinar is you. So there we go. Welcome, everyone. And let me just say it out loud so nobody has to think it quietly. CMMC Level 1 Assessment Scoping on paper is one of the least thrilling titles in the English language. It kind of sounds like watching someone watch someone read a tax code out loud in a monotone voice with the lights off. And yet, here you are on a Thursday choosing this, which tells me something. You already know the boring sounding stuff is usually the stuff that quietly saves your business, okay? Look, we all know it. Fire extinguishers, they're boring too. Right up until the one day that they're the most important thing in the building. So here's my promise. I'm going to take a topic that sounds like beige paint drying and make it make sense in plain English with a few laughs and zero assumptions that you came in knowing any of it. You give me your attention for the next little while, I'll give you something you can actually use on Monday morning. Deal? All right, great. Now, let's meet our presenter, which is me. All right, I'm going to stop referring to myself in the third person now because it's creepy. My name is Rick. I'm with a little nonprofit called Move America. Well, it's not a little nonprofit, but I like to think of it that way. But I'm here on behalf of the Project Spectrum team because we are sister organizations. And for the next little while, I'm going to be your cyber tour guide. Quick promise before we start. I know cybersecurity compliance webinar is not the phrase that usually gets this many people to show up on a Thursday. That's normally reserved for free pizza or a Stanley Cup Game 5, which, by the way, is tonight. Carolina and Vegas go Hurricanes, tied 2-2. I promise I'll keep us on schedule and keep your brain functioning so that you can enjoy the game. Here's my one ask. If you walked in thinking you know jack squat about this kind of stuff, that's absolutely perfect because you are my favorite kind of audience, okay? By the end of this, you're going to know exactly what CMMC Level 1 scoping is, why it matters to your business, and what to actually do about it. There's no jargon for jargon's sake. Deal? Deal. All right, so we've got a couple of housekeeping items first. Keep your mics on mute because nobody needs to hear the dog yelling at a squirrel or your coffee maker finishing that K cup of chemicals. Check how your name shows up in case you signed in as iPhone 12 or your kid's gamer tag. Also, make sure you're dropping questions into the chat as we go. Our cyber advisory team is standing by, and they're going to get to as many of them as we possibly can. Look, think of the chat like the suggestion box at work, except this one we actually read. And finally, since I'm here at Project Spectrum's Hall of Justice-like HQ in the state of Maryland, I have to let you know that this webinar is being recorded. See, Maryland's a two-party state, which does not refer to festivities after the main festivities. It actually means I have to get your permission to be part of a recorded session. So if you stay on in the next 10 seconds, that means you've given me permission to be part of a recorded session. If not, trust me, we'll get you the replay video, and we'll even convince Sabrina Carpenter not to sing about you leaving too soon. Give it a few seconds, see if anybody drops off. Still here? Great, let's go. All right, here's our flight plan for today. We're going to start with why you should care, the threat landscape, who's getting hit, and how much it costs. Then we've got the alphabet soup, because the government, I swear they get paid by the acronym. CMMC, FCI, CUI, I'm going to translate all of it. Then the main event of the afternoon or morning or wherever it is in whatever time zone you're in, scoping, figuring out exactly what's inbounds and what's out. And then we will finish with the actual process, how you self-assess and get your score submitted. 5 sections, no pop quiz. And I'll tell you when we're at the halfway point, so nobody's checking the clock wondering if they can make a sandwich. All right, so what or who is Project Spectrum? To answer that, or is it those? I'm not sure, whatever. Let me introduce our esteemed Mr. Kareem Sykes. He is the Director of Industry and Engagement at Project Spectrum. Kareem has had to listen to me give so many of these webinars in the past that he should be up for a service medal. He really should. But when it comes to explaining the mission of Project Spectrum, nobody is more qualified. Take it away, Kareem.
Thank you, Rick. You are far too kind. And yes, I have endured a great many of Rick's incredible presentations here virtually and otherwise. And so I want to thank you all and just extend a kind of a good morning here, although so much has happened today in the cyber world in particular. As Rick mentioned, I serve as the Director of Industry Engagement for Echelon. Again, my portfolio includes Project Spectrum. I am sort of the forward face of Project Spectrum. You've probably seen me deliver speeches or presentations or host as master of ceremony for different events where Project Spectrum is being featured. And so Valiant Secure Cloud is another one of our offerings for those that are looking for an alternative to an on-premise enclave. I want to talk to you briefly about Valiant Secure Cloud, another option that Echelon, again, is building out just as we did Project Spectrum. For the defense industrial base specifically to help with CMMC. Many of the things that you'll learn about today, we do offer a secure cloud environment that will be very, very helpful that we think for a lot of folks. So that's another to keep in mind. Lynx, Lynx, Lynx is another one of Echelon's critical offerings. Again, on the peripheral, if you will, of Project Spectrum, but it does much more in terms of making the logistics of pursuing government contracting opportunities more palatable and more efficient and effective. And so that's another one of our offerings. Again, that's Lynx, Lynx. But those are just a few of the things that fall under my purview, including Project Spectrum. And again, related solutions supporting small businesses, government contractors, and of course, organizations navigating cybersecurity compliance and digital transformation. So those are a few things briefly there. But today's discussion, right? CMMC Level 1 assessment scoping, it could not be more timely. We know that recent cybersecurity reporting continues to highlight nation-state targeting of defense sector personnel, exploitation of widely used enterprise technologies, and frankly, a growing number of supply chain attacks that are demonstrating how quickly cyber risk can extend beyond an organization's traditional perimeter, right? So for companies supporting the defense industrial base, understanding what systems, assets, users, data, understanding where they fall within the scope is no longer simply a compliance exercise. It is a foundational component, rather, of operational resilience and contract readiness. And so that is precisely why Project Spectrum exists, right? So some of the things you're going to hear about today, through Project Spectrum, organizations are able to access a broad range of no-cost resources, right? So you're talking about your CMMC self-assessments for Level 1, certainly, and Level 2 as well, including cybersecurity training, right? So that not only do you self-assess, but you know exactly where to go for those trainings on Project Spectrum, many of which are CMMC control specific and can really quickly allow you to up your knowledge on those areas that you may in fact be deficient on, right? So your self-assessments I talked about, those educational webinars, precisely like the one that you're going to hear today, are things that we're doing. We're putting together tools and practical guidance designed to really help small businesses and businesses of any size, frankly, right, strengthen their cyber posture and advance their cybersecurity preparedness. right? And so when we think about companies seeking more individualized support, right, that is beyond that which you would be able to attain by going to projectspectrum.io. You'll simply register there, username, password, and having done so, you'll have access to all those resources I discussed earlier. But if for those that are looking to get at a more granular level of individualized support, Project Spectrum also offers cyber advisory compliance packages. And now these are where you can expect and provide the provision of considerably more granular assistance, right? So throughout the organization's cyber compliance journey, imagine working one-on-one with a cyber advisor at your side, regardless of whether that journey takes, a few months or if it takes 9 to 12 months, more so in the case of level 2, right? And that, by the way, is whether you're going for level 2 at a self-attestation level or whether you're going at level 2 at a C3PAO certification level, right? So there's kind of a bifurcation there. But again, regardless of what your journey looks like, we are there to support you. Those cyber compliance packages obviously are at cost, unlike everything that you'll experience, everything on projectspectrum.io. But again, that is there to help those companies that really need that extra hand-holding, kind of that one-on-one, white glove, individualized treatment over protracted periods of time at a granular level, right? Now, if you'd like to learn more about either our no-cost offerings or our cyber advisory compliance packages, specifically for the cyber advisory packages, I want you to send me an email at support@projectspectrum.io. Again, support@projectspectrum.io. You'll see that on the slide at the end of the presentation. If you're interested in those cyber advisory compliance packages, everything you're going to hear about today is going to come to you at no cost. That's going to be what you're going to be able to access by registering at projectspectrum.io. I would encourage everyone to start there. There's a myriad and a wealth of resource provisioning that's there and at the ready. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Rick to lead today's discussion on CMMC Level 1 assessment scoping. Thank you.
Thank you, Kareem. Yep, you nailed it once again. As Kareem was saying, just think of us as the friend who's already been through the haunted house and comes back to walk you through so you don't jump at every shadow. Look, we've seen the maze. We'll point at the trapdoors. It's all built for you, and it exists because a strong defense industrial base starts with businesses like yours being secure. All right, so now it's time for some real talk. Why does any of this matter? Take a look at these numbers. If they scare you, they should. 43% of all cyber attacks target small and medium businesses, not the big guys, you. 74% of breaches come down to human error. Somebody clicked something they shouldn't have. It happens. The cleanup cost runs from a few $100 all the way to 650 grand, and that's just on average, and that's really the low end. And here's the gut punch. Only 14% of small businesses have a plan to deal with an attack, and only 17% carry the proper cyber insurance. The rest are looking for an emu, or a little green guy who speaks with a British accent, or some woman with a 1970s hairdo. Let me put this all in basketball terms. The Spurs are down 3 games to win right now. It's a tough spot, right? But you know what's a worse spot? Walking onto the court with no game plan, no insurance, and hoping the other team just doesn't show up. I hate to tell you, that's 86% of small businesses when they're looking at cybersecurity. Hope is not a strategy, and neither is, it won't happen to me. I know. You're saying, but Rick, I'm small. Why would anyone bother with me? Great question, and by the way, thanks for having your mic muted while you asked. Now, let me spell out the reasons you're a target. Number 1, you're a doorway. Attackers don't always want you. They want the bigger fish you're connected to. Compromise one supplier, and you've got a key to the whole building. You're the unlocked side door that nobody thought to check. 2, your intellectual property is worth real money. That process you perfected, that design, that data, look, it's going to sell on the black market, and it's gold for state-sponsored actors. And 3, and this one's not a knock, it's just reality, you're busy running your business. You're focused on production and delivery, like you should be. You don't have a dedicated security team watching the doors at 2 a.m. Guess what? The bad guys know that, and they actually count on it. So here's the rogues gallery, right? Phishing and social engineering. One fake invoice, one click, and you are in trouble. Ransomware. It doesn't just lock your files. It can shut your whole operation down. Missed deadlines, lost revenue, the works. Supply chain attacks. One weak link, the whole chain is exposed. And you know what happens to the weakest link? Goodbye. IP theft. Somebody walks off with the thing that makes you, you. And operational disruption, the long tail, where even after the dust settles and you're dealing with broken systems and customers who suddenly don't trust you. It's basically the Stranger Things lineup of villains. Each one is scary on its own. And then when you bring them all together, good grief. But the good news, CMMC Level 1 is the flashlight, the bike, and the friends who actually have your back and maybe have some weapons. So let's go meet that. That's where we hit section 2. The thing you came for, CMMC. Let's go ahead and demystify it just a bit. So as you saw on the last slide, CMMC stands for the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. Now you know why we use CMMC. It's not like the government needed another acronym, but that's a mouthful. There are 3 levels, and here's the only way you need to remember them. Level 1 is foundational, okay? You're building that foundation. It's 15 basic requirements. Look, this is for businesses that handle FCI, and I'm going to define that in a second. This is where most of you live, and it's the whole focus of today. Then you've got level 2, which is the advanced level. Now you're talking 110 requirements for businesses handling more sensitive data. Level 3 really is the expert level. This is the boss level, final boss level of all final boss levels. Look, this is for the national security high stakes stuff. Think of it like a building security. Level 1 is locking your front door and your windows, the basics everyone should do. Level 2 is adding cameras and that alarm system that you hope doesn't go off in the middle of the night. Level 3 is the vault with the laser grid from every heist movie ever. Today, we're getting your doors and windows locked. And honestly, that really will stop most of the trouble. All right, so we talked about 2 terms that you've got to know, and then, we're going to go into more alphabet soup later on, but at least this part is done. You've got FCI, which stands for Federal Contract Information. It's sensitive, but not classified info you get or create because of a government contract. Contract details, org charts, performance reports, your responses to an RFP. This isn't secret agent stuff. It's just information the government would prefer didn't end up on the internet. Then you've got CUI, which is controlled unclassified information, bigger, more sensitive category. Still unclassified, but it comes with strings attached, specific rules about how you protect it and who you share it with. Easy way to keep them straight. FCI is the stuff about the contract. CUI is the more sensitive stuff inside of it. If FCI is the envelope, CUI is the classified adjacent letter that needs the special handling and hopefully doesn't self-destruct in 10 seconds. Thank you to anybody who got that reference. And this is the slide that tells you which lane you're in. It's actually pretty simple. If your contract has you handling FCI, you need CMMC Level 1 at a minimum. If your contract has you handling CUI, you're looking at Level 2 or higher. So your homework before anything else is to know your data. What are you actually touching? Figure that out, and the level picks itself. You don't choose your CMMC level off of a menu. You don't have level 1.4. Your data assigns it to you, and it's either level 1 or level 2. Today, we're assuming you're in the level 1 lane, so let's go ahead and stick with that while we drive. Now, here's why this isn't a someday kind of problem. It's a now kind of problem, like now. CMMC has landed. The rule went live in the Federal Register last September. Phase 1 officially kicked off November 10th of last year. This is no longer theoretical. It's in contracts right now. Why does that matter to you? Well, 2 reasons. 1, cybersecurity standards are just the price of admission now. It's non-negotiable. And 2, this is the part I love. Getting ahead of it actually makes you more competitive. While your competitors are scrambling, you're the vendor who's already buttoned up. So what do? You assess where you are, you build a plan, and you stay informed. Being early here isn't just compliance, it's actually a sales advantage. It's like being the one team that scouted the other side's film. You show up ready. Now, here's the rollout. It really is in phases over a few years, so you don't have to panic right away, but you should start moving forward. Phase 1, just a limited set of contracts. Phase 2 is broader. Phase 3, everybody who's applicable. But circle this date. By 2028, every contractor touching FCI or CUI has to have an active CMMC certification or self-assessment on file in a system called SPURS. We'll get there. Don't get ahead of me. 2028 feels far away, right? So did this past November once. The contractors who win are the ones treating the off-season like it counts. Look, don't be the team that starts training camp the week before the playoffs, okay? This right here is the main event. This is where Bruce Buffer would be standing in the middle of the octagon, screaming his lungs out. Scoping. If you take only one thing home today, it comes from this next stretch of information. So this is the time to pry your eyes open, have a coffee, maybe something a little bit stronger, not that kind of stronger, but here we go. Now, before you assess anything, you have to define your scope. And no, that is not a mouthwash. Oh, well, it is a mouthwash, but not for this purpose. At level 1, scope means one thing: every asset that processes, stores, or transmits FCI. 3 verbs. Let's unpack them. Process. Anything that uses the info, edits it, creates it, prints it. Then you've got store. Anything that holds it at rest, a server, a laptop, even a filing cabinet full of paper. Then you've got transmit, anything that moves it, email, file uploads, transfers, all that kind of stuff. Here's the rule that makes it click. If the asset touches FCI in any of those 3 ways, it's in scope, period. In hockey terms, scoping is defining your defensive zone. You can't defend the whole rink at once, and you don't have to, but you'd better know exactly where your blue line is. Everything inside it, you protect. That is scoping. And to anybody who got that reference, good on you. All right, so what's in the zone? It's your core systems. The workstation where someone reviews a contract or a drawing, the file server or SharePoint site where contract data lives, the email system that sends government files back and forth, even the printer that spits out a physical copy. Here's the part people tried to wiggle out of. Every one of those has to meet all 15 level 1 requirements. You don't get to skip the printer in the back corner because nobody really uses it. Trust me, if it touches FCI, it's in play. There are no bench players. Everyone on this list is a starter. Now, the good news, okay? Plenty of stuff is out of scope. If it never touches FCI, you don't have to lock it down to the same standard. That computer that your marketing person uses that only handles public stuff or does, the quirky TikTok videos for your employee gatherings, no, you don't have to worry about that. Your HR system, no contract data on it, it's out. Guest Wi-Fi, nope, don't need that either. But, and this is a big but, here's the trap. If an out-of-scope system connects to an in-scope one directly or indirectly, it can quietly drag itself into scope. So your boundary expands and you probably don't even notice it. This is the friend who you said could just crash for one night, who's still there 3 weeks later, and now they're asking if they could just put their name on the lease. You've got to verify your network segmentation. Know what's actually talking to what. Trust me, a clean boundary is a cheap boundary. Then you've got this special category called specialized assets. These might touch FCI, but they can't be fully secured the normal way, okay? So you're talking about like smart sensors and IoT devices, operational tech, the controllers and systems that are running your equipment. You've got the government furnished equipment. You've got restricted systems built to government spec, test equipment. Here's the deal. At level 1, these are not addressed against the requirements. You're off the hook on securing them to the same standard, but you still have to inventory them. You have to write them down. You have to know they exist. You have to think of them as the weird relatives at the reunion. You're not responsible for fixing them, but you absolutely need to know they're in the building and where they're sitting. Now, you have to understand the rookie mistake is thinking scoping is just about devices. It is definitely not. It is about 4 things. Number 1, your people, your employees, your contractors, even your vendors. Who can actually get to your FCI? Their access and training need to match that responsibility. Technology, yes, the servers and laptops, but also your routers, your switches, your phone systems, your virtual machines. Inventory every bit of it. Facilities, every physical place that FCI lives, your office, your plant, and yes, the secured home office if you've got remote folks handling government data. Physical protection counts at level 1. Lock the actual door, not just the digital one. Then you've got external service providers. This is the one that a lot of people miss. If your IT company or your cloud host is processing or storing FCI for you, guess what? They're in your scope too. Their security is now your security. You can't outsource the responsibility. You can only share the work. People, tech, facilities, providers. It's not just the machines. It's the whole team on the ice or the court or the field. It depends on your sport of choice. And at this time, we've got 3 of them really going on, soon to be 4 with FIFA. And if you're not into sports, I don't know if we can be friends. Now, one last bit on scoping. It's not set it and forget it, okay? Your scope definitely evolves. Big changes means you have to reassess, merging networks, acquiring a company, expanding to new locations. But guess what? You can relax a little bit. The small stuff doesn't trigger a whole new assessment. You have a new hire, or you get a new laptop for your fleet. Look, that's just captured in your annual affirmation. You're not redoing the whole thing every time someone gets a new monitor. And the hero of this whole story is your system security plan, your SSP. If it documents your scope, defines your boundaries, records how you've implemented your controls. You build it once, you build it well, and every future year gets faster and easier. It's the recipe card you write down, so next Thanksgiving, you're not calling your mom or grandmother at 6 a.m. Asking how much butter goes in the mashed potatoes. Just write it down once. You'll thank yourself forever. All right. You know what's in scope? How you actually do the assessment and get credit for it. This is the part where it all becomes real. And good news, we're now past the halfway point. You're crushing it, and I'm keeping all the information and dad jokes flowing. Here is the headline that makes a lot of you exhale. At level 1, this is a self-assessment. You don't have to hire an outside auditor. You assess yourself against those 15 requirements, then you affirm it annually. And you don't do it from scratch on a blank legal pad. Look, the folks over at Project Spectrum, they have free self-assessment tools right on the website under Useful Tools. They walk you through it and tell you where you stand against NIST 800-171 and CMMC Levels 1 and 2. It's like getting the answer key and the study guide before the test. We're not trying to trick you. We really do want you to pass. Now, once you've done that self-assessment, you get a score, and that score goes into a system called SPRS. SPRS, S-P-R-S, stands for the Supplier Performance Risk System, not the ones who blew a 26-point lead last night. Just remember the letters, SPRS, SPRS. SPRS is the official place where you upload your self-assessment score plus some supporting info into the government's procurement environment. It's the system of record. If your score isn't in SPRS, then as far as the government's concerned, it didn't happen. So we're going to walk you through how exactly to get it in there. Step 1, you've got your prerequisites. Before you can even open a record, you need 3 things. A cage code, that's your business's government ID number, a PIEE user account, which is the login for the procurement system, and a completed self-assessment. No cage code, no PIEE account, no entry. Get those squared away first. And as James was talking about before, guess what? The folks at the Apex Accelerator can certainly help. Step 2, gather your evidence and finalize your documentation. Don't start the record until your assessment is actually done and everything's in final form. You want your approved SSP, and if you've got any gaps, you want a plan of action and milestones, which is known as a POAM. Not a poem, that's something that rhymes. Laying out how you'll close any of those gaps. Basically, don't show up at the DMV without your paperwork. We've all made that drive home, shaking our head, saying, now I have to stand in another 3-hour line while somebody takes their lunch 2 people before I get up to see them. Look, don't be that person with Spurs. You can do this. Step number 3 is you need to figure out if you even need a new entry, okay? You gotta understand something about Spurs. It tracks everything by the cage code, all right? If it's your first time submitting for a given system, it's a new record, that's required. Same setup you've already assessed, all you have to do is update the existing one. Don't create duplicates. Future you will be confused, and you're gonna confuse the folks at the government, and we all know how that goes. Step 4, log in and launch. Get into PIEE, pick Spurs from the menu, clear the multi-factor authentication. Yes, you're going to need your phone. No, there's no skipping it. And you hit assessment entry. That's your on-ramp. Then you are officially in the system. Step 5, you're going to make sure you enter the core data. It'll ask for your cage code, the assessment type, and the date. And then the big one, your score. Here's the beautiful part about level 1. It's binary. Requirements met or not met. That's it. No decimals, no curve, no partial credit, 15 controls, all in, or there's still work to do. Step 6 is you need to affirm. Look, this is the legal piece. You check the affirmation box and type your electronic signature, attesting that you're in continuous compliance. This is you signing your name to it, so make sure it's actually true. This isn't initialing a gym waiver without reading it. This one counts. You're going to need to do this. And I know you have reasons why you keep skipping the gym. Just save those. We've all been there. Step 7 is your supporting artifacts, okay? Spurs doesn't make you upload your entire SSP and every shred of evidence, but there's an option to attach summary documents. If you don't upload, you still have to know exactly where your evidence lives and be ready to hand it over if the government asks. I'll find it later, not a filing system. You've got to make sure you have it. Step 8, review and then submit. You check every field, hit submit, and Spurs spits out a confirmation page with the unique submission ID. Here's a best practice for you. Save that confirmation as a PDF and tuck it away with your assessment package. That PDF is basically your receipt. And just like at the hardware store, keep the receipt, because let me tell you, if you don't, and you try to go back and do something, it's just going to get uglier and uglier and uglier. All right, we're into the home stretch. Step 9, you've got your maintenance. At levels 1 and 2, you redo and re-upload your self-assessment at least once a year. And sooner if something big changes. Remember, big, like a new enclave or merge systems or a major tech overhaul. Set up a calendar reminder now so it doesn't sneak up on you. Step 10 is retention and audit readiness. Keep your confirmation PDF, your final SSP, your POAMs, all of it in a secure spot for the life of the contract and then some. Don't stop after the contract ends, because somebody's always going to come back and say, hey, do you have this? Believe me, you're going to want to have it. Auditors can ask to see the evidence and proof that you submitted on time, so keep that clean chain of custody and your future renewals will just fly. And guess what? That's the whole process. It's 10 steps, and you just heard about all of them. Hopefully you learned a little something. Give yourselves a little nod. Give yourself a self-high five. There we go. You're more compliant than you were 40 minutes ago. I guarantee that. All right, now we are getting again right into the home stretch. Let me leave you with the 5 things that matter. All right, Here are your key takeaways. 1, scoping defines your boundary. Anything that processes, stores, or transmits FCI is in scope. 2, out-of-scope systems don't touch FCI, but you keep them isolated. 3, your specialized assessments are excluded from the assessment, but you still have to inventory them. 4, scoping is bigger than tech. It's people, facilities, and providers too. And then 5, you maintain it with annual affirmations and good documentation. Here's the truth under it all. This isn't about passing a government test. It's about protecting the business you've poured your life into and earning the trust that wins contracts. Defense wins championships. Just ask whoever's hoisting that cup at the end of the season. And, I have to say, in this league, in the cyber league, you're the defense. All right, now I'm not going to read URLs to you like a robot. These slides are going to go out to you afterward, and the recording is going to be available so you can see them later on. But you have to know that these exist. You've got the link for Spurs. You've got the DoD CUI registry if you ever need to nail down what counts as CUI. You've got the Cyber AB Marketplace for finding assessors. And you've got the NIST 800-171 resources with free SSP templates. Bookmark them when you get the documents later. They're trusted, government-endorsed resources. Everything else you find Googling at midnight, I don't know. I think I'd be a little skeptical about that. Now, this slide, I'm telling you, pay attention, because most people don't even know this exists. There may actually be money to help you pay for all this, okay? You've got your local MEP center. That's the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. This often offers subsidized gap assessments and CMMC help. Several states actually offer grants or tax credits or matching funds or security upgrades. Trust me, in some cases, you're going to really want that. And then you've even got some primes, some of the big prime contractors that you're going to work with will cover part of your compliance costs just to make sure that you stay in their supply chain, especially if you're a specialized or sole source supplier. So before you assume this all has to come out of your pocket, I encourage you to go look. There's a decent chance that someone's offering to split the check. And who would turn down a free appetizer or dessert? And of course, I would be totally remiss if I didn't mention Project Spectrum. Everything I talked about, they've got. They've got the SSP templates, the POAM templates, self-assessment toolkit, cyber readiness dashboard, help generating and uploading your SPUR score. Plus, again, as Kareem mentioned, they've got that one-on-one advisory service if you want a human in your quarter. Add training, blogs, briefings like this one on top. It's all there. It's all at projectspectrum.io. It's like the cyber gods got together and built a platform so small businesses don't have to figure this out alone. You don't have to be a cybersecurity expert. You just have to know where to get help, and hopefully now you do. All right, so literally that's the show. We've been answering your questions throughout the entire webinar. I've been seeing the chat going off in my peripheral vision the entire time, and believe me, I'm totally not offended that you focused more on that than listening to me. But I'm going to say now, if anything hasn't been answered, start typing it in that chat now. Speak now or don't, I guess. Just remember, there are no dumb questions here. The only dumb questions are the ones you don't ask. You need to be brave enough to ask even when all these other people are reading the chat as well. So again, thank you in advance to the brave, but make sure that you are putting those questions in the chat. We're going to keep answering them as much as we possibly can. Even the ones that say, would you possibly just do all this CMMC stuff for me? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. All right, so while those last questions are pouring in, and again, remember, the answer to, can you do CMMC for me, please, so I don't have to do it, is we can't and we won't. We want you to stay connected with Project Spectrum. Project Spectrum is your home base. This is the mothership. You need to come to us. Email us at support@projectspectrum.io. We've even got a virtual help desk. If you see over on the side of the screen here, that little orange question mark in the bottom right corner of our site, that connects you straight to a real cyber advisor. So go ahead and use that. Find us on YouTube and LinkedIn. You get training, you get updates, you get even recorded videos of past webinars where you get to hear how my dad jokes have evolved over the time. And I will tell you this, remember, it's not just about having the information available to you, but it's about utilizing it and visiting it. If you don't email us, but you have our email address, it's kind of like saying, if I go park in the parking lot outside the gym eating a box of Krispy Kremes, I'm getting in shape. You are, because round is a shape, but you don't want to do something like that. You want to make sure you're emailing us. You want to make sure you're following us. You want to make sure that you're jumping in with all of this stuff. That question mark on the lower right, it's the easiest button you're going to click all week, and it might save your business, which is not bad for one click. All right, so I'm going to say right now, that's all I've got. As the great Austin Powers said, I'm spent. I'm not going to say anything else he said because it's, PG-13. Thank you genuinely for spending your time with me today and with us today. Look, I'm going to give you full marks for this. You chose to get ahead of this instead of waiting until it's a fire drill, and it's not even a fire drill, it's an actual fire. All of this tells me you're exactly the kind of business this country's defense industrial base needs, okay? So I want to make sure at the end of this, you're going to lock your doors and your windows. You're going to define your scope. If you get stuck, you know where to get us. Go to the website and find that little question mark and click on it. Now, I want to say, I hope you definitely enjoy the rest of your day. If you're a hockey fan, catch the game tonight. If you're a Spurs fan, I'm really sorry. And if you're a baseball fan, guess what? There's a long way to go in the season. So your team may not be out of it yet, but probability and statistics says if you're at the basement level, you're probably not going to climb to the penthouse. I do want to say a quick thank you to our host today. We love our Apex accelerators and our partners. They set all this up. Thank you for doing that for us. I want to say thanks to the entire Project Spectrum team, cyber advisors, the communications folks, everybody, my colleague Mark, who made this webinar just absolutely flow. Again, thank you to Project Spectrum for having me here to inform and entertain you. And I do want to thank you for showing up and not eye-rolling yourself into oblivion. So I'm going to say we're going to give you a little bit of time of your day back. We always like to end a little bit early just to give you time to go get ready for lunch. So until next time, my name is Rick. Again, I'm with Move America here on behalf of Project Spectrum. Look, you didn't show up today to just check a box. You showed up today to protect what you built and to keep this country's supply chain strong while you're at it. So go lock your doors, define your scope, and the next time CMMC comes up in a contract, maybe try not to flinch so much. Thanks again. Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time.